October 11th is National Coming Out Day, so I wanted to talk about a song that I produced and wrote 25 years ago that describes my fears and anxieties when I was on the on-ramp towards coming out. Plus, I wanted to talk about some amazing books that I've been reading, including the Better Nate Than Ever trilogy by Tim Federle and Damn Shame by David Pevsner, plus my latest adventures at GemCon in Phoenix, Arizona. I've got a lot of thoughts, so let's connect those dots. From the time I was young, I really loved TV, music, and movies, and even magazines. On the culture of pop, I have feelings and thoughts. Come along for the trip and we'll connect those dots. I'll tie things together that you might not know on a wild gay ride called Garth's Pop Culture. Oh! Episode 6, National Coming Out Day, with Better Nate Than Ever, Damn Shame, GemCon, and my original song. I was 18 in 1998 when I came out to my best friend Felix, and I appreciate that I got to have a bubble with him that made me feel safe for the first couple of years before I started to come out on a wider scale. He was the first person to take me to the gay village, and he was the first person to take me to a gay club, and I really appreciate that he was able to do that for me at a time when I was a little more insecure about coming out to other people. In the year 2000, I was becoming close friends with a person in university who did help me start to come out on a wider scale. They had no qualms about coming with me to Buddies and Bad Times Theater when I was assigned to cover that for one of my theater classes. And even though our friendship was complicated, I do appreciate that he was able to encourage me to come out to people like my parents and to stop hanging out with homophobic people, because I originally thought maybe I could just play both sides and not have to be out to everybody, which would not have been sustainable in any way. But there was a gap in between around 1999 where I was thinking a lot about how much I wanted to come out, and I rediscovered a song that actually turns 25 this month. It's a song I wrote and produced called Hate to Intimidate. I'm going to play the full thing for you at the end of the episode. A lot of the lyrics from songs that I wrote and produced in 1999 were very gay-coded. I had references to electroshock. I had one line where I literally said, "I can't think straight," and I meant it how it sounded. And I also had winks to feeling guilty over fetishes about watching men on TV and reading them in stories and having a dark side. And it was my version of Nine Inch Nails. It was kind of alluding to things that I didn't feel comfortable saying out loud quite yet, but playing with them in a context where I could be characters. I could be versions of myself that didn't have to declare anything directly. But the most interesting thing is Hate to Intimidate seems like a song where I was pretty much opening the closet door and screaming on the inside with how badly I wanted to come out, but I was still afraid. I can hear the struggle in the song, especially with the way I sing it. I had this idea that me coming out would be a burden to other people. It would be difficult for them to accept. It would be something that I had to make right for them. The most interesting part of the song to me is the bridge, where I sing, so that bridge is definitely pretty dramatic. I distinctly remember where the line, "The fear in you is burning me, your eyes are a weapon piercing me," came from. There was a guy that I was friendly with in my English class around 1996, 1997. And I remember we would talk about pop culture and just average things in the day, and we got along pretty well. But the time anything gay came up, he would have this look in his eyes that changed. It was kind of scary. It was just this look of hating the idea that anything gay would come up. And that really made me afraid for how he would react if he knew who I was in private. And that was the time period where I'd be seeing a lot of talk shows where it made it clear that you had to wait until you were stable before you could come out. Don't come out too soon. It could put you in harm's way. There was the Jenny Jones murder, where Scott Amador was murdered after he admitted his same-sex crush on air. And I also recently saw some repeats of Sally Jesse Raphael on the channel Nosey TV. And what shocked me is it took me right back to exactly why I would have been afraid to come out in that time period. There was an episode where an 18-year-old man comes out to his mother on air as bisexual and talks about living with his same-sex partner. And his mother does not accept him. She does not process it, and there's a gay man in the audience who stands up, and he says, "You need to love your son because I was disowned by my parents for a year when I came out to them." And the shock of seeing that back to back really drove it home how much I would have been afraid to express my own sexuality to people I loved and cared about if I'm seeing these as examples on TV of what could happen. So what I did was, I got a membership to an adult video store, but I also poured my heart and soul into lyrics. Writing these lyrics down made it feel like I had an outlet for all of the fears and anxieties that I had about my sexuality before I officially declared it. I played some of these songs for my university friend, and he accepted me. And he helped me start the process of coming out to other people, which I will always appreciate. Our friendship was complicated. There were ups and downs, and things weren't perfect. But I will always appreciate the fact that he really helped me when I needed it, and gave me a bridge towards the person I needed to be. In a sense, that was the beginning of finding my tribe, and that is what would lead me to join a gay group in university and to meet my friend Mr. A, who very generously bought me the entire trilogy of the Better Nate Than Ever series by Tim Federle. These books are incredible. I finished them recently, and I can't say enough good things about them. The series covers 13-year-old Nate Foster as he chases his Broadway dreams and escapes to New York to audition for E.T. But along the way, his adventures also take him through acknowledgments of his burgeoning sexuality. Nate suffers a lot of homophobia in his small town before he escapes to New York to audition for the E.T. musical that's happening. And what moved me is how raw it was. Mild spoilers for this next section, but there's a sequence where Nate tries to go to a religious camp with his brother, and he tries to be accepted, thinking that that might be the way for people to see him as normal, quote unquote. And it doesn't work, because people still see something different about him. That makes me emotional because it reminds me of the fact that you can't hide what's different about you. What's different about you makes you special, but that's why you need to find the people who celebrate that and embrace it, rather than the people who are afraid of it. And the book does a great job of covering that, and I do get emotional talking about it, because even this book was written more recently, in 2013, and it's something that kids need so much, because I remember how dark it seemed in the 90s. So to have people at least have things like this now and see the younger generation be more accepting and have more gay-straight alliances and be able to be more accepting of each other, that is something that we still need to fight for. And the Nate books are so good. I just have to recommend how the story arc is beautifully done. And it really is a love letter to theater kids everywhere. And even if you're not in the theater, there's a theater kid that lives in us that needs to be celebrated. And this book helps everyone do that. So I just want to recommend the whole trilogy. Please read it. It's amazing. Sorry, I'm getting so choked up. But thumbs up and 5 stars. And thank you, Mr. A, for getting me those books. The other book I've been reading, which is amazing in its own way as well, is another theater book, Damn Shame by David Pevsner. This book covers his journey to getting onto Broadway and being an actor and comedian and songwriter, and a gay man who had to come to terms with his sexuality in decades where it was far less accepted. And I appreciate the way he takes us through the decades with a very candid look at his own life, his own insecurities, the way that he had to fight to overcome shame about his body, about his sexuality, about the way he was perceived as an actor. There's a whole section about how the theater school he went to was very homophobic and wanted actors to butch it up and hide who they were. And that's one of the things that resonates so much with, especially with gay people of a certain age, that idea to be straight acting is more valuable than to be flamboyant. And that's something we still fight with today. So I think this book is really great, and there were things in it that resonated with me a lot, especially about finding your tribe. There's one passage in the book that I love where he says, Columbia University used to hold gay dances in the early 1980s on the Upper West Side in their gymnasium. They were open to anyone, and at 24, I wasn't that far from the age of most of the gay college kids who showed up. Though I was not one to take over a dance floor, it choked me up sometimes to see my people, my tribe, living out loud and having a gay old time. This reminded me of GemCon, the amazing Jem and the Holograms convention that I've attended since 2009, and the way that people come together at that convention is more like a family reunion, because it not only celebrates Jem and the Holograms, the amazing animated cartoon series, but it also allows everyone from all walks of life to celebrate their artistic, creative, cosplay. You name it, we can celebrate it and bring it to the dance floor. And that's what happens every year at GemCon, and especially this past year, I got to see that live in action. All of the special guests were warm and incredible, and it felt like the love was flowing back and forth between Samantha Newark, Britta Phillips, Joelle Dunn, and Darian Darling. Darian Darling is fabulous, and she brought her personal stories of being a Jem fan who created one of the earliest Jem websites on the internet, plus growing up as a person interested in music, art, fashion, acting, and going to a high school where queer kids were accepted. It is so important to be in an environment that celebrates that. GemCon does that, and we need more places and spaces to do that for people. A big thank you to Liz Pemberton for creating GemCon and allowing us to have this space to be ourselves and celebrate life and celebrate all of our wonderful creative personalities. And a funny thing happened in the middle of this most recent GemCon that had nothing to do with the convention itself. I received a comment on one of my YouTube videos that was not very nice. I'm going to read it right now. This is my first time seeing you, and wow, grow, dude. When your only personality is gay, you're a loser. Thank you, Jenny, for watching. But I do have to say, it made me laugh more than it upset me. And at least she didn't call me a faggot. But what makes me laugh about it is, why is she so upset about me being myself? National Coming Out Day is supposed to remind us that representation matters. Representation is what makes people feel seen and validated, and know that they're not alone. I was reading David Pevsner's book on the flight home, and one of the passages that stood out to me was David reflecting on his nude photography. He writes, "This demonization of our naked bodies and sexuality has always made me crazy, but as an adult of a certain age with a point of view and a desire to express myself as an artist, it made me want to take action. Every moment those photos I had taken remained hidden. It was as though I was holding them back out of pure shame. One thing I learned when I finally embraced the fact that I actually was an artist does not hold back. I thought, you have a problem with gay? I'll fucking give you gay." And that's exactly what I hope to do here as well. But one of the most moving passages in the book is when a young man writes to David, expressing his struggles with his sexuality. He writes, "I began looking into your background and realized that not only are you a good-looking actor, but a gay rights activist. I'm a senior boy at a Catholic high school in Illinois. Accepting my sexuality in regards to spirituality, friends, and family was a nightmare that I wouldn't wish on the worst of mankind. When I was up at 2 a.m. scanning vlogs and videos with dried tears on my cheeks for a reason to live, I found videos and interviews of adults telling me that I was special and worth it, that life is going to improve. I want to speak for the LGBT community too, and human rights in general." David was touched by this letter, and he writes, "I do think it's important that we gay folks who have any public face at all speak out and not cover up, so that young people in small towns and small-minded communities and families can feel hope and know that they can get past the internalized shame and fear of being gay, that it can not only cripple, but kill." David goes on to write, "We all have to continue to speak out. We all have to be out. There are now enough out gay actors and celebrities enjoying great success that there's no need anymore for closets, beards, veils, or excuses. Visibility can save lives, and we need to support our gay and trans kids. I've been there. So many of us have." I go back to the song that I wrote in 1999, where I wrote things like, "Consider all that I'm trying to prove. Does it need to be said today? The boundaries get in my way. Does it need to be proven now? Does it need to be said out loud?" And I realize it does need to be said out loud. I recognize the struggle in my own song 25 years ago, and realize how much better things have gotten after I came out, and how much I was able to really become the person I was meant to be. And through David's book, and even through that hateful message on my video, I realized that being gay still intimidates people, and I don't hate to intimidate as much as I used to. I feel like we all need to be the people we were meant to be, and to celebrate being our authentic selves. And National Coming Out Day is a step towards that, and making sure that we all spread kindness and accept each other for who we really are is the way forward in this world. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to tune in to WDA1.com for my exclusive Pop Culture Minute every month. And stick around for the full-length version of Hate to Intimidate, which is coming up next.
I